Imagine waking up every morning knowing that death could come at any moment. Imagine being surrounded by barbed wire, armed guards, watchtowers, and thousands of desperate prisoners. Now imagine deciding to escape from the most heavily guarded concentration camp in Nazi Germany. This is the incredible true story of survival, courage, and one of the most daring escapes from Auschwitz. During World War II, Auschwitz became the largest and deadliest Nazi concentration and extermination camp. Located in occupied Poland, it was a place where more than 1 million people lost their lives. Most prisoners believed that escape was impossible. The camp was surrounded by electric fences, guard towers, patrol dogs, and heavily armed SS soldiers. Yet despite the impossible odds, some prisoners refused to give up hope. One of the most famous escape stories began in April 1944. Two young Slovak Jewish prisoners named Rudolf Vrba and Alfred Wetzler had spent years witnessing the horrors of Auschwitz. They saw trains arriving daily, bringing thousands of innocent men, women, and children to their deaths. The two men realized something terrifying. Hundreds of thousands of Hungarian Jews were about to be deported to Auschwitz. If the world could be warned in time, lives might be saved. But there was a problem. Nobody outside the camp truly understood what was happening inside. Vrba and Wetzler knew that the only way to reveal the truth was to escape. They carefully studied the camp's security procedures for months. They observed guard routines, patrol schedules, and search operations. Every detail mattered because a single mistake would mean execution. On April 7, 1944, they put their plan into action. The pair hid inside a pile of wooden planks in a construction area near the camp's perimeter. Other prisoners secretly helped them by covering their hiding place with boards and tobacco mixed with gasoline. The strong smell was intended to confuse the tracking dogs used by Nazi search teams. For 3 terrifying days and nights, they remained hidden. Meanwhile, camp guards launched a massive search operation. Sirens sounded across Auschwitz. Soldiers searched buildings, fields, and surrounding forests. Everyone knew that if the escapees were found, they would almost certainly be killed immediately. But the plan worked. After the official search period ended, the guards assumed the men had escaped far away or died attempting to flee. The intense search was reduced. Only then did Vrba and Wetzler emerge from their hiding place. Their journey was far from over. The two men still had to travel through occupied territory filled with German soldiers, informants, and checkpoints. Moving mostly at night, they crossed forests, rivers, and dangerous terrain while surviving on limited food and water. Every passing stranger could be a threat. Every road could lead to capture. After nearly 2 weeks of travel, they finally reached Slovakia. But escaping was not their final goal. They needed the world to know the truth. Soon after reaching safety, Vrba and Wetzler provided a detailed report describing Auschwitz. They documented the camp's layout, gas chambers, crematoria, prisoner numbers, and the systematic murder taking place inside. Their testimony became known as the Vrba-Wetzler Report. For the first time, detailed information about the mass killings at Auschwitz reached international leaders, governments, and humanitarian organizations. The report shocked many people who had never fully understood the scale of the atrocities. Historians believe that the information helped pressure governments and leaders to take action. Some researchers argue that the warnings contributed to efforts that ultimately saved tens of thousands of lives, particularly among Hungarian Jews who were still at risk of deportation. The escape of Vrba and Wetzler became one of the most significant prisoner escapes of the entire war. But they were not the only brave individuals who tried to escape Auschwitz. Throughout the camp's history, hundreds of prisoners attempted to flee. Most were captured or killed. Yet each attempt represented an act of resistance against a system built on fear and oppression. One remarkable example was Kazimierz Piechowski, a Polish prisoner who escaped in 1942. Along with 3 companions, he carried out an astonishing plan. The group stole Nazi uniforms, weapons, and even an SS vehicle from inside the camp. Dressed as guards, they drove directly toward the main gate. As they approached, a guard demanded identification. For a few tense seconds, everything hung in the balance. Then one of the escapees, pretending to be an SS officer, shouted orders at the guards. The gate opened. The men drove out of Auschwitz and disappeared into freedom. It remains one of the boldest escapes ever recorded from the camp. Stories like these remind us that even in humanity's darkest moments, courage can survive. The prisoners of Auschwitz faced unimaginable suffering. Many lost their families, their homes, and nearly all hope. Yet some refused to surrender their humanity. Their escapes were more than attempts to save themselves. They were acts of resistance. Acts of truth. Acts of hope. Today, the stories of Auschwitz survivors continue to educate future generations about the dangers of hatred, extremism, and intolerance. The bravery of people like Rudolf Vrba, Alfred Wetzler, and Kazimierz Piechowski demonstrates the extraordinary strength of the human spirit. When confronted with overwhelming darkness, they chose courage. When surrounded by fear, they chose resistance. And because they survived, the world learned the truth. Their stories remain a powerful reminder that even in the most impossible circumstances, hope can still find a way to escape.